What is it?
Well, it's called Randomizer, and it's fitted to the guidance systems and operates under a very complex scientific principle called potluck. Now, no one knows where we're going. Not even the Black Guardian.
Not even us.
Hello and welcome to the Randomizer Podcast, episode 29. I'm Tim.
And I'm Chaz, number 29.
Oh God.
I remember once when I lived down in England, I got on a number 29 bus. I was on there for a while, and this girl called Sharon got on. And I noticed in her bag she had a new adventure novel. I think it was The Also People. And we just were talking for ages. And then she sort of said bye and got off the bus. And I always regretted not asking for her phone number.
Well, Sharon, if you're listening, Chaz can be reached at randomizerpodcast@gmail.com. Or you can leave us a voice message to Anchor. And in all cases, and that's the end of the podcast, hooray! No, well, that's a lovely story. And I can't wait to see what you come up with next time for our 30th episode. Is this going to go on all the way to like every episode forever?
Pretty much, yeah.
Welcome along. We've been away for a while, but we've got lots and lots to talk about. New Doctor Who. We've got spoilers this time for every episode of Doctor Who up to and including Legend of the Sea Devils. If You See God, Tell Him, a little bit of TV, which we'll be talking about. And spoilers for the official casting announcements for the 60th and beyond. We're not going to talk about anything that's been revealed on Twitter that's not been officially confirmed.
Quite right.
Yeah. And there is plenty. So, yes, I've been dipping in and out of Twitter with great care. And I've seen more than I wanted to.
And I've been dipping in with complete aplomb, and I'm bursting with spoilers, but I can't.
Like an incontinent hamster.
Yeah, I may have to go away for a while.
Just go to like bottom of the garden and shout them into the void.
Yeah, I think that's actually what I need to do. I need to scream the names out and things. Go.
Okay, so, well, let's do the big news. Ncuti Gatwa will be the next Doctor, which is very exciting. I hadn't seen the actor before, but I rushed off, as many people did, and watched the start of Sex Education, which is really funny. I might carry on watching that. It's great fun.
Yeah, I've seen the whole thing. I'd sort of got to a few episodes into Series 3 when he was announced anyway. Yeah. So I sort of just finished watching it. But yeah, I mean, I'd been aware of him. And he is. I mean, he's fantastic in that. I'm not sure if I've seen him in anything else, although I have heard somewhere that he is in The Haunting of Bly Manor, which is another Netflix show that is from the same people that did The Haunting of Hill House. So, and that was a great production as well. But yeah, I'm incredibly excited about this.
Yeah, well, we have yet another Scottish Doctor.
I mean, how cool was that?
Who did we bribe?
Look, we're just awesome.
Yeah.
I think we just have to, that has to be acknowledged.
Well, Ncuti trained also at the RCS, the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland, and I worked there back before that time when it was... Yeah, shut up. When it was named the Royal Scottish Academy of Music and Drama, which is also the alma mater of David Tennant. Now, I have managed to put the 8 years I worked there squarely between Tennant's time and Gatwa's time, so my timing is utterly awful.
So you actually saying that you're going to be the next Doctor?
Well, I might have met them, but no, I was just like, when I heard that they trained there, I looked it up and was like, yeah, after my time. But no, very exciting. And I think there were lovely scenes on the kind of red carpet at the BAFTAs.
Yeah.
With Russell T Davies and Ncuti. And Celeste McCoy filmed a lovely welcome video. Did you see that?
Wasn't that sweet?
With that weird fan blade behind his head.
Yeah, I know. He'd sort of angled the camera from the bottom, so it made him look huge.
Like he was wearing a helicopter hat.
Maybe he's just a bit pissed off that he's that short.
You know what it reminded me of? Inspector Gadget with that helicopter that came out of his hat. And wouldn't McCoy make a great... Yeah, let's pitch that now. Yeah. Sorry, Matthew Broderick. Did you ever see that Inspector Gadget live action film? Oh, yeah, what a shame. I loved that cartoon. We should put it in the box of delights.
Anyway, welcome to the Inspector Gadget podcast.
This is episode 1 of the Inspector Gadget cast.
Christ. No, it was a really nice message, and it was a lovely message back from Ncuti.
Yeah.
Paul McGann? No. Peter Capaldi recorded a little message as well, which was rather sweet. And
Did Colin Baker chip in somehow as well? I think there was a tweet or something, wasn't
I think he did.
Yeah.
And
it's very social media heavy, all of this. It's great.
I kind of... Well, it's like something I was reading. It's like this is the first time we've actually had an actor cast that has really been of the New Who generation, you know, and it's so strange. And he's also technically that generation that grew up with social media.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, the likes of us, we sort of...
I don't know how it works and I'm scared.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to show you what you're holding is a computer and not a potato.
No,
example.
well, I mean, after an accident with a deep fat fryer, it was very handy.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, so I think it's very clever Russell doing it this way, because it's not as if it's like a big reveal show or anything like that. It's a little thing on Twitter, but Twitter's instantly worldwide.
Yeah.
Instagram, Twitter, everything.
The other kind of fun new thing is that Ncuti put on his Instagram 2 heart emojis, a plus symbol and a blue box.
I mean,
which is just gorgeous.
That's
and
wonderful.
Clever. Yeah.
I'm getting that on a t-shirt. Absolutely. And I noticed there was someone who follows Ncuti, and the quote, it's I think it's a time, one of the Times writers, you know, for the Times, and the quote was, "I suppose I'll have to watch this nerd Phonebox thing." And I thought, that's the greatest description of Doctor Who I've ever heard.
Welcome to the Nerd Phonebox podcast.
Yeah. I'm definitely getting that on the t-shirt.
Yeah, and then that sparked a whole bunch of imitations and kind of follow-ups.
They've been great.
Yeah.
What was it? 2 hearts plus a cricket bat.
Davison.
It's so simple.
Well, there's that round in Richard Osman's House of Games where they have to do a film or TV show in emojis only, and I think it's sort of sparked a kind of spin-off from that.
Yeah,
I did try and do some Doctor Who's for that.
Yeah, it is very clever. And also the way they've turned the blue box round to make a diamond.
For the 60th,
which
you had to explain to me as well.
Yeah.
It's much like the potato thing.
But it's something that I did see someone had photoshopped one of the blue boxes and photoshopped a picture of Ursula from Love and Monsters, you know, as the paving stone coming out of the blue box.
Random. And then, talking of David Tennant, the next announcement was that David Tennant and Catherine Tate will reprise their roles as the Doctor and Donna. I presume the wording of all of these has been very careful.
Yeah,
very. I don't think there's any doubt that they're playing the Doctor and Donna.
No.
But again, you have to sort of be careful what you assume, which kind of brings us on to the third announcement we're going to talk about, which was Yasmin Finney playing, and I'm going to quote here exactly, playing the character of Rose.
Exactly.
And so, of course, the internet exploded with that.
Of course it did. But it doesn't specifically say Rose Tyler.
No. And even Russell was like, how can there be another Rose?
Exactly. You know, and he said the same about the Doctor and Donna. How can they meet?
Is it a missing adventure? Is it the land of fiction?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I love it. This is what Russell is very, very clever in terms of the way he markets these things. He never puts a word out of place. Yeah. He always is very careful about
the wording.
Press releases. They've always been very subtle.
Talking of, the wording of some of them is, I think it's Cheatin Tennant and Yasmin Finney are all worded in the same way, which is that they are filming scenes that are due to air in 2023 to coincide with the show's 60th anniversary.
Absolutely.
And that's interesting because it's not officially been said that Yasmin Finney is a companion.
Exactly.
Although that's sort of where it feels
the
like
assumption is.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't announce, just say, I don't know,
part,
a bit part.
Yeah.
Really that.
I mean, maybe a guest star.
Yeah, I mean, if it was someone of note in terms of a known entity, then but, you know, and I don't mean this in any way disparagingly, she's a sort of not an unknown actress, but you know, she hasn't
up and coming and not like a household name in that
exactly,
way.
Exactly. I mean, she's in a Netflix show that I now have forgotten the name
Heartstoppers.
Heartstoppers.
Yeah, because have you haven't watched any of that?
I've watched one episode.
I haven't got around to it yet.
I would say yes, it's very good, but I'm 51. I don't necessarily consider it for me because it's...
Is it teenage angst?
Teenage angst and stuff, you know, and it doesn't matter if it's boy loves boy, boy loves girl, girl loves girl.
Under a silvery moon, which then explodes for no explored reason.
That's not any issue. I'm not a teenager, and it's just that sort of element, you know, and you just think, okay, fine, that's not for me, but it is a very well made show and very witty as well.
Yeah, I'll give it a look just to sort of see Yasmin in action. And yeah, I look forward to watching more of Ncuti and Sex Education.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it was just been announcement on announcement on announcement.
I watched this video on YouTube and somebody was practically in tears because they just made a bloody video that was out of date. You know, so he's fucking with everyone's heads and I love it. It's just, it's got everybody talking. I've never seen... Well, no, I have seen, but I haven't seen people so excited about
recently,
Doctor Who in a long time. And, you know...
And this, dear listeners, the only reason that we've taken so long to make this episode is because we wanted to be sure that we knew everything.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So we're not going to talk about the kind of... There's been a lot of stuff on Twitter, photos from filming that's been happening, so that's revealed some more details, but we're not going to talk about those. No. But they're out there if you want to find them, and stay away from it if you don't. However, the one thing on my big wish list is I want Wilf back. If we're getting Donna, I want Wilf. And if he doesn't happen, I'm going to form my own production company to bring him back, and he'll be evil. It'll be for revenge. And that production company will be called Bad Wilf Productions. You can do your start of the show bad joke about the number. I can do my Bad Wilf joke.
Yeah, alright. Well,
shall we talk about Sea Devils?
Have we finished talking about New Series?
I mean, it feels like we could never finish talking about New Series. I've almost forgotten there's another episode to come.
One thing I will say, when we were just going back to the wording slightly.
Oh, yeah.
As you say, Yasmin, they have not said she is a companion. Mm-hmm. They haven't said, all they've said about David Tennant is the Doctor, and all they've said about Ncuti is, now, people will argue with us saying, well, the BBC said, but in Russell's original post, he says the new Doctor. The BBC say the 14th Doctor. But the thing is, and I remember reading this quite a while ago, when Russell was originally involved in his first tenure, he used to say that basically if the BBC is asked a direct question, they have to answer it. And that makes it very difficult for the likes of spoilers. I think it's something to do...
I don't see how that can be true.
Well, apparently it's something to do with the charter because they're publicly owned.
But then a journalist could just ask, what's the ending of such and such? And they have to ask them.
I understand that. I don't know the whole ins and outs of it, but they can't deny it if they're asked something.
They can neither confirm nor deny.
Yeah. So... Bad Wolf is not. It's an independent production company, and I think he's now happy because he's a lying bastard usually. Let's be honest, he lies about everything for the good of the show. So
we hope.
I think we've got some very, very subtle things going on that people, because immediately it's that thing of you read a headline and you assume the story.
Yeah, exactly.
You see what I mean?
And then, of course, there's so much echoing on the social media and distortion in that echo.
And I love it. It's driving people mental.
Myself
included. And I absolutely adore it.
The one thing I have just got now zero tolerance for is people using the official Doctor Who account thumbnail and making a name that's very similar to it and posting bullshit.
God, that's
and I am
annoying.
Blocking those fuckers immediately.
Yeah, because
it's just wrong.
I've done it a couple of times when I'm about to read and I've and I went,
hang on a minute. Yeah.
You know, and it's
just badness.
Irritating.
Yeah, it's not helpful.
Although, can I just say one thing? I have seen something on Twitter, and unless you're a moron, this isn't any way a spoiler. Someone had taken a photo on set, but instead of a certain character, they've taken the character out and they photoshopped Pat Troughton.
Yeah, you saw it.
Which is, and it's an absolutely perfect piece of Photoshop.
Yeah.
And I watched on Twitter as it was posted, and then it's like, oh yeah, and then someone saying, oh my god, blah blah blah, and saying, of course it's not real. He wouldn't have posted it if it wasn't. And then you've got loads of people going, this is amazing, he's back. And
obviously, it's just
thought
an internet search away, but I suppose if you were a new fan, that you might not necessarily know that Patrick Troughton had died. So. And they did bring actors back, like they did with Cushing and Carrie Fisher.
I know you can do synthetic moves, but I don't think you can actually create them.
You can put them on location.
Honestly, I couldn't stop laughing. I mean, it's sort of cruel, but it's not.
This is the Land of Fiction thing. It's like Jamie getting turned into a cardboard cutout. Anyway,
let's go on to see.
Yeah, because I mean, there's so much excitement at the moment, but there's also the sort of commensurate amount of noise and nonsense about it.
I love the way you tail into this. There's so much excitement at the moment, but now it's time for the excitement to end and the misery to begin.
That is 100% your prejudice is talking. So, Legend of the Sea Devils came out a few weeks ago now. Yeah. I was actually at work on a cruise ship at the time, which sounds like fun and glamour, but it was actually a shit-tip building site at sea, which nothing was ready on. I didn't have a flushing toilet for a couple of days, but enough about the glamour of my job.
It was taken over by sea devils.
Yeah, exactly. That was harsh. That was a bit of a blessed relief at that moment, actually. At the time of that job, out came Sea Devils, and we were actually in dry dock before we sailed. Chaz may or may not have committed an act of piracy. He's not the BBC. He can't. Doesn't have to give a straight answer. But I was somehow magically able to download and watch the episodes, and it was extra special for me because of that. So I've got to kind of add a 10% for the occasion of watching it. And
absolutely.
I think we've touched on this a lot. The way in which you encounter something and the circumstances of first viewing it can make a huge difference. We've talked about how our moods have affected our reception of programs. And for me, this was a tough job. And I was homesick, and it was just a really lovely thing. Chaz was such a hero to get this to me so that I could, if nothing else, so that I didn't have to avoid the internet for 2 further weeks to avoid spoilers.
Oh, that would have been hell.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, at sea, there wasn't much internet anyway, so there I was watching it, and that just added a little bit of extra atmosphere to it.
Oh.
So,
that's quite nice.
Do you want to shit on it first, and then I'll talk about what I liked?
I love the fact you assume I'm going to shit on it.
Well, you do have your pants down and all. So.
Well, okay, I'm crouched.
That's just how you roll.
No, I mean, I like what you say there. I mean, that's what nostalgia is, isn't it? You know, you have fond memories of something, but you also, the circumstance affects it.
Yeah, well, I mean, that makes it nostalgic going forwards. But yeah,
absolutely. But I mean, well, your partner was here, and our friend David and Izzy were here, and we all watched it.
Missed the party, I did.
You did, yeah. I watched it, right? Now, I've watched it twice now, and I can't say my opinion of it has changed in any great detail. I will have positives to say. I wouldn't say negatives. I would just say it's like, it felt flat.
Yeah.
It felt sort of, you had elements like sea devils, pirates, and I just thought, wow, you could really have a hell of a romp here, you know? And it was uninspiring. There wasn't much levity. And it was bland. It was so vanilla and slightly boring.
Yeah, I mean, that's all a bit of a mystery to me. I think it's maybe like a musical taste thing. Some things reach people and some things don't. But I also can't separate out what the joy of being able to watch it out at sea was doing for me, and being able to watch it at all while I was away. And for me, I just it just rattled along. It was fun. I kind of, it was obviously very deliberately not doing anything too epic or too kind of series history changing or momentous.
No.
So, it's saving its powder for the final Jodie episode to come.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, in that sense, it's kind of safe territory.
I think also saying it was a special is a bit of a bit.
It's like a long episode.
Sound a bit grander because it wasn't even a long episode. It was
about 60.
No, it wasn't even. It was a standard episode.
Was it?
Yeah, and it was obviously left over from Flux. I think if basically COVID or whatever it was, same way as Eve of the Daleks was, it was your episode that would have been part of that season.
Oh, how would you fit that in?
No, what I mean is
if it was a season rather than
if it was a season, because
Gotcha.
War of the Sontarans and Village of the Angels
Legend
were
of the Sea
obviously
Devils.
were obviously episodes that had the Flux theme mixed into them, but they could have been easily taken out and been an episode.
Yeah,
I think.
guess.
But anyway, I mean,
that makes sense.
that sort of is a thing.
Well, let's get some specifics.
The positives,
Yeah.
right? Okay, so I think the Sea Devils, I know some people have said no a little bit, but I liked them. I think the Sea Devils look great. I think the costumes are brilliant.
Beautiful.
I don't know, I don't get why people moan about the start with the statue. Because
What
I
about it?
actually thought that was great.
What do they moan about it?
Well, people seem to think, the bit with the statue and the Sea Devil coming out of it was a bit... And I
that
thought,
was great.
Yeah, I thought it was good.
Really thrilling.
I didn't particularly think the Jodie or the companions were that brilliant in that bit. I don't know how. A lot of it was jumping.
Yes. Yeah.
So, for example, the whole thing with the net at the start, I thought, well,
there was no setup for that.
I
didn't even see the second time if it was in any of the wide shots. Just
I
there.
was a bit. Where the fuck did that come from?
And obviously they run into the village and suddenly there's a ready-made trap for them.
Yeah,
that
felt a bit strange. I mean, I did like when Doctor confronted a Sea Devil land parasite.
Yeah, that was fun.
I thought that was good. And also it's quite clever because really that's not their name.
That's a way of ducking the issue as well,
so
which is quite nice.
Interesting.
I did like it was that Jodie's like, well, what do you want me to call you?
Yeah, that was fun. The Sea Devil jumping onto the CGI ship was a bit... I mean, some of the effects were
that was like
okay,
the old Kung
and
Fu
some
movies.
were really fucking
where
naff.
the characters can like fly through the air almost.
I half expected a $6 million man sound effect.
Yeah, and I also noticed the editing of it was very clear which were standalone effects shots. Like a lot of the Sea Devil swinging its sword were just in isolation, in a way that they weren't kind of comped into an overall scene, so you didn't see the victim of the sword in the same shot or anything like that.
I think sometimes it felt a little half finished visually.
I mean, that's
parts,
harsh, but
I
think there was a certain lack of polish.
I don't mean anything genuinely a bit harsh about this, because I in no way hated it. I just was a little underwhelmed.
Yeah, but I think you feel the limitations of it somewhere here and there visually or effects-wise. I think it's certain so the integration of the effects.
Yeah.
But overall, a great look and really stylish.
Oh yeah,
I loved.
It did look nice.
My favourite line, I think, was "No ship, Sherlock."
Yeah,
right in the edge.
Enjoy
It's
that
great.
one.
And lovely, beautiful scene between the Doctor and Yaz in the bottom of the sea, and nice to sort of. It was nice to bring forward that relationship question.
It was. As I say, I just think that should have been seeded and maybe talked about more. Not only in Flux, but maybe even in the season before, we should have had a growing more sense of it. I know, for example, that the whole thing basically came out of speculation on the internet.
I doubt it.
No, it did. Jodie and Thingy have already said this. This is 100% true. It's even been, the interviews at
the whole Phasmin thing.
Yeah, that all started on the internet. I think it was Jodie that had seen the thing and said to Chris, "Why don't we?" So that's why that happened. But I've got no problem with that happening. I just think
It's the writing
you don't
again.
suddenly happen. You know, it just felt...
It's epitomised for me in Jodie's line about you're the most extraordinary person I've ever met. And you just don't buy it because Yaz hasn't had the writing.
Yeah.
You know, Yaz is great. Yaz is perfectly lovely, but Yaz has not had the kind of character moments development, not had the action.
Totally.
You think of it like
agree.
a character like Clara, who's done extraordinary things and has, you know, stood in for the Doctor and all of those things. That's an extraordinary character because they've had room to do those things in the writing.
Or it's Sarah Jane, or...
Well, God, almost anybody else. That's the sad truth, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's probably a symptom as well of the fact that Yaz was kind of crowded out of the action when there were Yaz and Graham and Ryan. You know, there was just so little room for much of the character development. And so now it's started kind of a little too late.
Yeah.
Now that it's been a smaller team.
And that's why I think it feels hollow.
Yeah,
you know?
and that's a sad thing because you want it to be emotionally resonant and have some depth.
Because the conversation they have on the beach and I was okay with it. I thought it was actually something that was quite sweet.
It's just built on not much.
Yeah, the foundations are too shaky.
Yeah, for sure. But, you know, it'll be what it is. And I think given, we'll talk about the teaser trailer for the next episode. So given in what looks a lot like a regeneration moment, the Doctor's shouting Yaz, it feels like there's a bit more of that emotional journey to come. Although, who knows, it's all out of context. But that trailer, this was the same with Eve of the Daleks. We got more excited about the actual next time trailer.
I honestly think we should hold off slightly because surely we've got a few other things to
say about Sea Devils.
Yeah.
Perhaps. I don't actually have much written down.
What was it? The washing?
The not Merca. Yeah. We were very disappointed.
Again, isn't it?
Well, it didn't look like the Merca.
The fucking...
there were a lot of people in that pantomime.
The Racknot, you know?
Yeah, but
we
think we're going to put washing through Google Translate. Hey,
come on! I bet you on puns. Hey,
no, that's your washing line, is it?
Oh, Jesus!
Sorry.
There we go. No, don't cancel us.
Please do. We're going to put it through Google Translate and see if it translates as Merca.
Yeah, we live in hope.
No,
it should have been obviously, but okay, he didn't. But this is what got me right now. It looked good, as I say, but the Doctor and Jazz go back in time to
16 something
to the other pirate who's chucking everybody overboard.
Yep.
Basically,
then they get swallowed up with the sea monster, right?
Yeah. Cause
no, hang on.
Well,
they travel forward in time to the seafloor. That's in the 1800s. Because the Doctor's like, after 200 years there should be some sign of the wreckage. And then the sea monster swallows them up. So it is there's no more time travel needed. We were confused. This is the point.
It's just confusing. And it's also, I mean...
There's a bit more of this elsewhere in the story as well.
You know, it's this jumping. Mm-hmm. It's like I said in Tesla episode, where they go into a room or whatever,
and then suddenly they're on the train.
Out on a train.
Yeah, I think we're just maybe old and can't cope with modern drama.
No, I'm being understand.
Flippant.
I understand how, but I just think that sometimes you need to show things, and don't keep telling us what happens and things. You know,
just the dots are not always joined.
Yeah, it's the dot.
In a way that we get.
What you say.
But no, that one actually is fine.
Yeah.
But the fact that we had to sort of tease it through is kind of telling.
Absolutely.
I think. And the other one is Dan at the end.
Yeah.
So we think they stay in the 1800s setting because the background action when Dan's phoning Diane seems to be like a rickety old cart, and you see various beach stuff that looks old or of the old world, and he's phoning Diane, and obviously maybe the phone is calling through time as well as.
I mean, I've got no problem with that.
She's got the best roaming plan
jiggery pokery thing that with Rose and the phone.
Well, the next episode is Diane is bankrupt because of her phone bill. Because she phones him back, so poor Diane. Yeah.
Exactly. But again, that could be modern day.
Yeah.
It could be the past. There's no firm explanation of things. And I'm not the sort of person who needs everything spoon-fed.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of doesn't matter for me.
I need some sort of clarity sometimes.
Yeah.
It wasn't a big deal. It's just one of those things you think of. You know.
None of it's a deal breaker, and it's just, I think the series is not stopping to worry about those sort of continuity points, and that's fine. None of them really sort of
I think
knock you out of
maybe
the
it's
program.
a thing, a hangover from sometimes Stephen Moffat, the way that you would watch an episode and then you would just get this bit of dialogue because he was notorious for, I don't want to leave this scene hanging, I want an explanation that nobody will listen to, moan about, and then I can say, ha ha!
Yeah.
But the thing...
He would tell you those things.
Yeah, exactly.
I think show you those things.
Right,
yeah, just saying, it's not confined to one era.
No, not necessarily. All he's doing is explaining what he is. Okay, I'm not getting into it.
No.
Anyway,
come on, take the bait.
But the thing that I think it hit me from the beginning, and it sort of probably put me off, was I was sitting there watching it and thinking, oh, great, Sea Devils, pirates, and blah blah blah. And she comes out of the fucking TARDIS with that sonic screwdriver, what, Magnus fucking Pike. And if you're old enough, you'll remember who Magnus Pike is.
I'm not
he was
old
a
enough.
scientist back in the sort of 70s and 80s. And he was wonderful. He would explain all this, but his arms would wave like fucking one of those tube men, those floaty
I can't remember if we did it on the podcast, but we did speculate that Jodie's regeneration might be caused by a sprained arm from waving the screwdriver too energetically.
Oh, sorry, seriously. I think actually now it's just become a thing.
But yeah, no, lovely to see Nadia Albina as Diane again, and that's strongly signposting there'll be some sort of resolution for that in the next episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do like Dan a lot. He's just fun.
Dan.
This
Although I
pirate
was
thing,
a bit confused as to why Yaz dressed him nautically. I know he was in a pirate.
I think she's messing, right?
But they weren't even supposed to be going to a beach or China. And yet they were in Chinese costumes.
Well, I think they were expecting a beach, and maybe they knew the destination country. I don't know.
I don't know. It just...
It's all implied.
I mean, yeah. I think one more gripe, and that's all I will say about it, is that you've got Sea Devils, you've got pirates. I think I've said this, haven't I?
I don't know what you're going to finish that sentence with.
Well, just I was expecting it to be more of a fun romp.
I kind of think it kind of was. It just didn't reach you. You know?
Oh well, I mean, you sort of sit this side by side with
Black
pirate,
Spot.
Black Spot, which is a lot more fun.
It was a tighter, better written episode, but it was. I don't. There's not a great gulf for me in rompiness. I mean, gosh knows we've talked about romping enough.
I understand, but like you say, it was a tighter, better written episode.
Yeah, but only by degrees. It's not. I didn't think it was a disaster by any means. There was lots and lots of fun.
Ironically,
You thought longer.
Yeah. Although it bored me slightly.
You wanted more.
It could have actually benefited from being longer.
Well, just a bit more time with the Sea Devils and all.
Yeah, but I think maybe it was budgetary issues. Maybe might have affected.
I think you're maybe right that it's a kind of leftover episode idea from when there was going to be a fuller season.
You know what I did like one thing was I thought it was quite a nice little nod back to the original introduction of the Sea Devils, that the ears, I don't know why I'm pointing to my ear at the moment, the ears had a sort of mesh look, like fishing
string
nets
vesty stuff.
And stuff.
Yeah.
But the one thing I would say is that I think it might have been better if, as I say, they had originally been in Praxis, and instead of the mesh, they could have had like those plastic things that hold beer cans together, round the neck, and really that would have...
then you'd been moaning about an unsubtle ecological message.
Yeah, of course I would.
Yeah, God, those things are evil. I'm glad they seem to be going from the world. I used to spend a considerable amount of time just snapping them, cutting them up and stuff.
Bloody awful.
Oh, horrible. But the No, and the string vest look was sort of subtly embedded in the costume.
I did like the costume.
The days of Rabsy Devil. Yeah.
It's like in Warriors of the Deep, when they were in the samurai.
Yeah.
It's a nice sort of touch, although China and Japan are completely different countries, but that Oriental sort of feel to them is
There's a lovely interview
nice.
with the costume designer in Doctor Who magazine, one of the recent issues. I think they've had a series, and I don't think it must be quite a recent issue, talking about the costumes, not just of the Sea Devils, but also the characters as well. No, I had fun. I'm so grateful to you for getting me the ability to watch it. And, rewatching it, I was like, yeah, it's fine. So it's sort of just inoffensive for me, which is...
That's fine.
And, okay, let's talk about the Next Time trailer.
Yeah, okay. That was very exciting. I mean, obviously, we've got Ace,
And
we've
Tegan.
got Tegan,
Wow, yeah.
we've got the Daleks, we've got
Ashad.
Cybermen and Ashad, and the Master.
So much for the bloody death particle.
It's like, yeah, exactly. I'm thinking to myself,
Got
now,
the young master, old master.
well, there is that as well. We've got the Master from
200 years in the Southern Sewer.
yeah, exactly.
Kate Stewart.
Okay, Stuart. The trailer makes it look great, but the problem is with me is that Chibnall has a lot
Got your
of
hopes
difficulty, with 3 companions and a doctor. If he's throwing everything at the fucking wall,
It's going to be like all of Flux in one episode.
And this is a trailer, so I'm betting
There's more.
there's more
Yeah.
in it
I
because
would
you're not going
love-
to give away all your surprises.
There's 2 things I would love. One I think is more likely than the other. So we never canonically have found out how the Seventh Doctor and Ace parted company. So
Yeah.
I'm interested in that. And oh god, wouldn't it be glorious to see Sylvester again?
Oh God, yeah. I mean, it would.
That would just make my day.
See, I think this is how I want it to be good, but I've wanted it to be good for a long time. I wanted it to be good because I want her to at least get a story, that she goes out on that is fun and, memorable, right? But what think I'm going to do is, because I always hope for good, but have been disappointed a few times. I think this way I'm looking at it is that all these characters that I love are going to be in it. I'm just going to enjoy the moments rather than be, and I don't want to say this preemptively, disappointed by the whole, but I'm sort of, I don't want to be heartbroken again.
Yeah.
And it's happened so many times. I mean, I'm excited about the future, and it does feel that, well, even if it is bad, we've got other things to come. But I don't want to go into it feeling like that.
Yeah, no.
I want to go into it with hope and think,
Exactly.
oh wow,
There's too many broken hearts in the world, and there's too many dreams being broken into.
Exactly.
Is that Rick rolling? It's sort of one adjacent, isn't it? Anyway.
Yeah, no. Well, who knows?
I think that was the follow-up single, wasn't it?
Welcome to the Jason Donovan podcast.
Oh, is that Donovan? I thought it was
Was that who
Astley.
you were thinking?
I thought it was Rick Astley.
No, you said oh God, here we go. No, fuck
Well, I've successfully derailed you anyway.
God. Yeah, no, I mean, as I say,
This is a record of our fading memories. It's like medical
this is how
researchers.
old and tragic we are,
It's like, hello, medical researchers. We could be part of your
I wouldn't
doctorate.
even donate my brain because I don't think it works anymore.
They might need a paperweight.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, dear.
No, I'm excited because Ace, Tegan, Simon Daleks, Kate Stewart, etc. The only thing that I really, really hope, and this would really annoy me, is if he broke those characters. Okay, he didn't write it the way I liked it. He didn't write it the way a lot of fans liked it. But there are a lot of people that love his era, and I'm happy for that.
I think
at least
you can look at so much that's been spectacular about this era, except for the depth of writing.
Yeah.
And hate to say it, maybe the strength of performance here and there.
Yeah.
A man is the sum of his memories, you know, a Time Lord even more so.
It is time for your cheating memory. We have randomly selected an old Doctor Who episode and gone away and rewatched it. And we chose Listen, the Peter Capaldi episode, which I had seen quite recently, and so I was a little underwhelmed by that. But we watched it again, and it's a lovely episode, isn't it?
It really is.
Great episode for Clara.
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, I remember at the start where I was just laughing about him sitting on top of the phone box.
Yeah.
Thinking, what the fuck would happen if he fell off?
I wonder how he got there. Is there a ladder or something?
That was just silly. But it's an interesting premise. I love that sort of... I like the whole talking to himself thing. I know you're not as keen, but he sells it to me.
Yeah,
anyway.
no, I agree. He sells it for sure.
He sells it and I like the idea of he's just sort of suddenly on a random tangent now about a
got this idea in his head, that he can't shake.
So he has to then deal with it. But then we cut to Clara, and it's as if Stephen Moffat is writing an extra coupling script. It's literally a coupling
time travel date gone wrong kind of thing.
So funny.
It's very good.
It is really. I mean, I know. I genuinely never understand this. There are so many Clara haters out there. I adore Clara. I think she's one of my favourites. I just love that she's so sort of uptight and OCD, but so quirky with it,
And it's a lovely scene at the end of the episode when they're kind of being honest with each other, and you just sense the bond between them forming, and that's a lovely thing.
Yeah.
And it pulls off some lovely kind of visual moments, like the spacesuit in the restaurant.
That's
great, and isn't it? Comically timed perfectly as well.
And the orphanage at night. I mean, you're getting sort of echoes of Day of the Moon.
It's very creepy, that scene.
It is incredible.
And there's a great bit of trolling by the Doctor when he steals his coffee.
It's wonderful, isn't it?
That's like, what a bastard!
The bit with the kid, and that's very spooky, with the sort of
the thing under
under the bed. And I love that Moffat doing that, because I genuinely think that's right. I think everybody's had something similar.
I don't remember ever having the grab the ankles dream.
Well, no, maybe not, but you get that fear of something. I've had where you feel you can't scream out in your dream, or you just lost your voice, and there's all elements to it, but it's that sort of nature of what you can't see, or something in the corner of your eye. It's what Moffat tends to do, all those little fears we have.
Little everyday things. Yeah. Suddenly there's horror in them.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And, well, I mean, the barn.
The barn. Yeah, the barn of fate.
Jesus, that's so good.
I definitely went sort of round a bit of a journey on that, and I think we said it when we talked about this in passing, maybe when we talked about Capaldi's era, but I kind of I think I've settled on liking the chutzpah of putting Barbara, the line that the Doctor says to Barbara, into Clara's mouth, and having that be the kind of emotional final gut punch of the episode. Yeah. And it's a very lump and throat beautiful
it is actually
moment.
I think so. As I say, I know there's a lot of people that don't necessarily agree with that. That's absolutely fine.
It's cheeky. It's very cheeky.
It's cheeky, and technically could have a bit of a go at Moffat for delving into the Doctor's past, because he's the one that opened the fucking door for the Timeless Children.
But I think the barn door. I think it's done with panache. Yeah, that's always the thing.
It's done beautifully.
But also it's nerve-wracking and slightly kind of unsettling in terms of the Doctor's this heroic character, and suddenly they're a weak, crying child who not only that, they're given one of their earliest, most beautiful lines from the history of the show from outside. It's not come from them. But then that's life, isn't it? You do absorb the kind of wisdom of others.
Of course, and it's like Clara said, about fear. Everybody has fear.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how brave you might look, we've got that inbuilt fear, and I love her comforting him.
Yeah, it's giving kids a tool set to deal with fear.
She's a teacher. We hear that quite a lot about a duty of care and stuff, and her instinct is to comfort a child who's upset. It doesn't matter that it's the doctor or whatever, but she's giving him that sort of strength, I think, that he needs, to survive, because I don't care who it is, your childhood is a traumatic time. You can have a really good childhood, but there are things that you are scared of, or that an adult would be able to shrug off, but a child can't.
It's really easy to forget the enormity of some everyday stuff for children as well.
Of course.
And it's a lovely episode. So, were there any other specific moments that we like?
Oh God!
Oh, the sort of thing under the blanket. The blanket falls off, and there's a kind of very out of focus shape.
Yeah.
I thought it looked a bit like E.T.
Maybe it's silence.
Short silence.
Yeah, very.
Let's have a short silence.
Yeah, it was the thing under the sort of ghost image reminded me of the film Ghost Story. It's basically got someone with a sheet over them and stuff. So it's that image that is seared into your thing. The whole, again, with the monster under the bed or the monster in the closet. The same as he did with Girl in the Fireplace and things. It's all those little childhood fears that we absolutely, we have, and they remain when you're, say, even an adult sometimes in dreams.
I'd love to see Moffat write an out horror. A film or something.
I genuinely would, because
it might be too much.
Actually, I don't know. Have you ever seen the film Insidious?
I know of it.
Right. The first one...
Spoilers for Insidious.
The first one's a great film. The second one, Connor and I watched this a few years ago, and I said, we've just watched a Stephen Moffat horror movie. Because there is a twist bit in it that is a sort of time travel bit, but it's as if Stephen Moffat has basically written this.
And they've watched him.
Yeah, because honestly, it was like, wait a minute, oh, that's brilliant, know. So I agree. I mean, at the moment he's just written The Time Traveller's Wife,
which is
on HBO in America, and for all our American listeners, and Sky Atlantic over here. And he's doing Inside Man with David Tennant. That's coming out later.
Is that a new story?
It's a new thing, yeah. I can't remember who else is in it, but the director is...
Maybe Catherine Tate and...
I think possibly. The director's quite a big director as well. I can't remember the name, but...
Oh, cool.
But yeah, no, I agree. An out-and-out proper Stephen Moffat horror would be immense.
It would finish us off.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. No, and of course it's left ambiguous whether that is just another kid from the home, and whether the doctor's all just sort of imagining his own fears, which is kind of nice and a little annoying at the same time. But yeah,
they don't show; they just explain.
Okay, revenge, lovely. Okay, it's time to choose a new one.
Look, when I give the word, press the button. The big one? Yes, maybe it works in conjunction with the others.
Okay.
Insidious.
Yeah, choose a random thing from everything.
All right, well, let's try and find out. Now, what could it be?
The Daleks. Just the Daleks.
Holy shit!
Oh, lovely.
Oh, I'm so excited. I haven't watched that in
No,
years.
me neither. And obviously with the big...
I've just watched the Cushing movie.
Have you? Yeah, well, they're coming to the cinema. I don't know if we mentioned that as well. We'll have to try and go.
I definitely am up for seeing those.
Yeah. I think we could hack into the projector and put up the Hartnell one instead.
Oh, that'd be amazing, wouldn't it?
Well, that's fab.
7-part Doctor Who, William Hartnell, black and white. I'm in.
So that's great. Some William Hartnell, and obviously in a very real sense, this is where a lot of the show
begins. Technically, yeah. I mean, this is the popularity of the show.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, obviously, An Unearthly Child is great, but it's obviously a bit dry, say, apart from the first episode. But, you suddenly expose the children of Britain at the time to the Daleks, and it just explodes.
Yeah.
It's Dalek mania, Beatlemania, basically.
Lovely stuff.
Great. Oh, Jesus, I'm so excited.
Yeah, I'm very happy not to get something that I've watched like 10 minutes ago,
Yeah,
which is
God.
great. Lovely,
Wow.
some old series as well. Sweet.
The task is challenging, but not impossible.
So this is challenge time. I've asked Chaz to watch The Mutants, the old John Pertwee story that he's never managed to sit through. And, well, it's been a bit of a saga, to be honest. But, so, I've had a bit of time. Have you managed to watch it, my friend?
Yes.
Tell me more, sort of.
Right, well, look.
You know you're talking about, like, you get your hopes up and then you get them dashed to pieces.
No.
Okay.
Right, you know Day of the Daleks,
I'm aware of the story.
and you know the enhanced version.
Yes.
So I watched the enhanced version, right? And it was fucking amazing, honestly. I mean, okay, so they basically, obviously, CGI'd in Daniel Craig and Olga, I think the actress Kuryakin or something. Anyway, so as obviously a Doctor and Joe, but well, I mean, you know, Pertwee's love of like fast cars. And, I mean, Jesus, there was so many car chases in this through the fucking Sahara and everything. Gunfights. I mean, it was like watching a proper action movie,
Like a Bond film or something?
Well, yeah, sort of. It was utterly amazing. Helicopter chases. I mean, Pertwee must have bloody, you know, this blew the socks off Planet Spiders.
Yeah.
I thank you for making me watch it.
Well, at last. I mean,
know.
I'm a bit confused about some of the details here.
Oh, what?
Well, I wasn't aware of an enhanced version, and certainly not one with Daniel Craig.
Oh, no. I mean, okay. I know that they changed the name of it, but I mean, it's obviously that, you
What
know.
did they change the name to?
Well, I think the original title was a bit of the Planet of the Mutants, but Quantum of Solace. I mean, fuck me. Actually, it was a really better title than The Mutants. And, you know, I don't think, I honestly was absolutely blown away by it.
I'm delighted and thrilled by that, but and I'm sure I sound it. The last time you watched the enhanced version, I asked you to go and watch the original because the differences were of very much interest, and I think I need to ask you to go and watch the original again, just purely for your own benefit in terms of how much you enjoyed this.
Really, but I mean, think about it, mate. Do you ever watch the normal version of Day of the Daleks anymore? Can you really stand no complication?
That's why some of the stuff that they improved is glorious. And I'm sure you'll find a lot to
I can't
interest
watch Day of the Daleks anymore unless it's the enhanced.
Tell you what, I will never ask you to watch the original Day of the Daleks. We'll strike a bargain next week.
Yeah.
Good.
In my box are such delights.
So this is Box of Delights, where we have a bunch of old TV shows and the like in a TARDIS money box. We randomly select one to rewatch. So last time we drew out a show called If You See God, Tell Him, which was a 90s sitcom of 4 episodes, now written by Andrew Marshall
and David Renwick.
The latter of Jonathan Creek fame.
And the other of 2.4 Children fame.
Yes, which I believe some people like. The star is Richard Bryars, the lovely Richard Bryars, and also features Meldeston and Aid Edmondson as his sort of long-suffering relatives. And oh my fucking god, this is dark.
Oh, it's from Renwick.
It's very funny, but it goes to some really dark places.
It really does.
And suddenly as well, I was chuckling away at his monologue. Spoilers, I should say, I think we said at the start. But I was chuckling away at his monologue about having this holiday in Germany when he says, and my wife was unexpectedly stoned to death by rampaging football fans. I was like, what?
See, I was really, really chuffed we pulled this one out because I know you had absolutely no experience.
I don't think I'd seen it, no.
And I was waiting for your reaction because I thought you are going to either hate it in terms of maybe you think it's a bit outdated or totally love it, in sort of...
I think I am somewhere in between. It's brilliantly done.
It's subtle for back then, maybe not as subtle as it could be, but
well, let's lay it out a bit. So go and watch it if you want to before you listen to this, because there will be spoilers. But it's running with the idea of what if somebody believed everything they heard on TV, especially adverts, and the show pastiches a lot of adverts of the time with all that kind of the 80s horror or 90s horror that brings.
Absolutely.
And so you've got kind of, it starts off with, in fact, I was going to lead us into this segment by talking about how you get your dishes so sparkly clean. But so he sees an advert for washing up liquid and buys 200 bottles and stuff like that. But Richard Pryor's character has an accident. He gets a big wheelbarrow full of bricks dropped on him and survives, but then is changed. So this is purely a kind of plot device to change his brain so he believes everything that he hears and doesn't have much of an attention span. It's actually, weirdly enough, it's reminded me of The Electric Monk from the Dirk Gently books. Which is, so for those who don't know, Douglas Adams wrote books with a character called Dirk Gently, and in the first of those was a character called the Electric Monk, which is a labour-saving device. It's a robot that, just like a dishwasher will wash tedious dishes for you, the Electric Monk will believe tedious beliefs for you and save you the time of believing them yourself. And so Richard Pryor's character suddenly just absolutely takes on face value every advert he ever sees, and that's the kind of jumping off point for hilarious japes, and some of them not so hilarious.
Yeah, but of course, I mean, it's a brilliant satire on the advertising industry,
and the consumerism,
and the sort of the insidiousness of the whole sort of ethos of it,
capitalist culture. And there's a moment that summed it up for me, and I think the third episode, it's a Christmas one. He gets in with a bunch of children and is encouraging them to kind of buy lots of presents that he's seen advertised, but they all start shoplifting behind his back. And then there's on the news, they talk about the crime spree, and they have a picture of the manager of the shop against all of these banners that say buy, pay later, and saying, I don't know what's encouraged these children to do all of this. And so it's quite,
I mean, it's definitely on the nose a bit, but well handled. And there's actually quite some tragic scenes, some quite upsetting bits, like the young kid, one of the sort of kids,
getting manhandled into the cop car.
He was like, this kid had real potential of going far and stuff. And I think it's also a comment on his colour as well. It
absolutely is. I mean, it's no accident that he's a young person of colour, and that episode ends with race riots, sparked by the police cracking down on all these shoplifters, some of whom are children of colour.
Exactly.
It's I didn't know if it would go there.
Oh no!
Because there's a very interesting line early in the episode where you see the kid at school, and one of the other teachers is like, "Oh right, I thought he'd stolen something." And you're like, "God, really?"
Yeah.
But actually, it's not just casual racism.
Oh no, they're not afraid to sort of to highlight
social commentary,
because it sort of echoes with something that recently happened in the States, where there was a young black girl, about 14. And one of the teachers had suspected she might have had marijuana or something. And, I mean, this kid said, I haven't got in. They called the police, and the police actually strip searched her.
Oh, Jesus, yeah. I heard about that.
So, these things haven't gone away in any way, shape or form. But, I mean, this is disguised as a sitcom. A really good piece of social commentary.
Yeah, well, there's a quite impassioned, and not necessarily always so noble, but there's a quite impassioned sort of polemic against consumer and capitalist culture. And Adrian Edmondson's character, I think, becomes the mouthpiece of the authors. And
absolutely.
In the last episode, there's a court scene, and he has a really enjoyable rant against, he shouldn't be on trial for this. It should be all the kind of peripheral stuff, and he's got an ongoing kind of feud with his insurance company, and none of it's especially subtle, but it does that thing of taking it to extremes, and
it's it's also a sort of very tragic comment on how we treat people who say have
or dementia
or mental illness or
the loneliness of the elderly as well.
Loneliness of the elderly, exactly. Because Breyer's character, I mean, really where he ends up, it's sort of like a bit of a comment on care in the community in itself, you know. It's,
that little flight of fancy.
Sad.
That little flight of fancy he has right at the end, it's quite heartbreaking.
Yeah,
and there's a moment of like Stephen Moffat-worthy chilling horror when Adrian Edmondson's character suddenly starts spouting all the lines from the adverts like Richard Browse has been doing all along, and you're like, oh, I just got goosebumps.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's chilling. And it's kind of throwaway, but I also think, the second episode's theme, I guess the last episode's sort of maybe about the elderly and healthcare, and there's sort of private healthcare is sort of lampooned a bit. The third one's that Christmas one about the kids.
Yeah.
The second one I think is probably about the sexism of advertising, because he tries to start dating.
That's right.
And he drives off his potential girlfriend by saying, you should be doing this and wearing this. And it plays that horrendous old song, Keep Young and Beautiful.
Yeah, exactly.
It's your duty to be beautiful. That thing from the...
And it's not his... I mean, I don't obviously think the character would care about that, but he is literally...
He just believes what he's told.
Parroting what he is told.
And literally, believes what he's told, and also, here's the key step, he believes it enough to then try and impose it on the people in his life, you know.
Exactly.
So I like the DIY stuff, and there was that lovely thing which reminded me of my childhood, of those magazines that come out once a month, and there's like 400 issues, and you get a binder.
But I don't think there's ever been one of do your own autopsy.
Yeah, that's gets him into trouble, shall we say that one. But yeah, I did like the court thing about, yes, he lined the shed with wool to muffle the sounds of his victims.
Did you see the court artist, the way he drew him?
Like a monster, yeah.
I mean, bloody hell. It's very funny. It is incredibly funny.
Great fun.
Incredibly well written. But if you're not into dark comedy, avoid it, because it's extremely dark.
No, there's nothing much explicit, but there's a lot of themes and sudden shots.
Things that you're like, oh my god.
Yeah. But I think of all of them, the first episode was my favourite, partly because that was fresh to me, and I was like, okay, it's this.
Now we know. Yeah.
But also, that was like a kind of 90s who's who. You had Angus Deaton's the bank manager, and Martin Clunes as the estate agent, and Paul Merton in episode 2, I think, is the builder.
A sort of builder. Yeah.
So
and no doubt there was a lot more.
Oh, there was another person I recognised, who was in one of the adverts, just very passingly. She was Janine, or at least the Pleasure Gelf version of Arnold Rimmer's sister-in-law Janine from Camille. Is that actor?
Oh, okay.
I can't remember the actor's name, but she popped up in one of the adverts. Yeah.
No, it's absolutely wonderful piece. And
I think they must have had such fun making all those fake adverts as well.
God, that would have been fantastic.
Well, some of them were like really quite elaborate as well. It's like big casts.
Really well done. But I mean, I've got an absolute love for David Wren, which right now I love One Foot in the Grave.
I love Jonathan Creek.
I think it's wonderful, but I think it's a bit of a shame that Andrew Marshall seems to be sort of a little bit forgotten, because I mean they were writing pair for a while. They wrote Whoops Apocalypse and stuff, but he's wrote some great sitcoms, and as I said earlier, 2.4 Children, as if you know me, you'll know it's my favourite sitcom of all time.
And if you've listened to 29 episodes of this podcast, you'll know Chaz.
Oh, shut up. I genuinely love it, and I would like to promote the 2.4 cast that's out there. There's a 2.4 Children podcast, and I will give you more details at the end.
Okay. Well,
well, the only reason for that is that I can't remember them at the moment, so I need to look them up.
Nice. No, I think I probably watched a few episodes of 2.4 Children when it came out, but I don't really remember it. And your enthusiasm for it, somewhat like your enthusiasm for the Tomorrow People, is making me think I should give it a go.
Hey!
Well, I suspect it'll have a higher hit rate than Tomorrow People as well. So if I can stomach
enjoy
that,
it more.
Yeah.
Interestingly, it was the highest rated sitcom of the 90s, and it directly led to My Family, because My Family has similar, but 2.4.
I saw some of that for sure.
2.4's, I'd say, more grounded, but also more fanciful. There's a prisoner episode.
Okay. As in The Prisoner.
The Prisoner, yeah,
Okay.
seriously.
Okay,
There's
I'm
an episode where It's the same episode where the father's stuck in the village and the mother and her friend are actually broken into Shirley Bassey's dress warehouse and doing
Goldfinger.
Yeah, that sort of thing.
All right, I'm officially intrigued.
Yeah, no. It's,
all right, say no more.
Bizarre.
We'll stick it in the box.
Okay.
Yeah. Anything else to say about If You See God Tell Him?
Watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Basically,
it's fun.
watch it. It is honestly a really beautiful little gem.
Out there on DVD, but I don't think it's not on BritBox as far as we know or anything. Is
No,
it?
no, and it's not in circulation on DVD.
You have to get it second hand.
Second hand, yeah, and it will be about 20 quid or so.
Yeah. But that's 20 quid worth of dark humour.
Definitely worth it.
$5 an episode.
Yeah.
There we go. Let's choose another thing to watch. We will reach for the box of stuff.
Do you want me to choose?
Oh, I'll do it. You've got your hands full of dog.
Yeah.
Okay, I have in my hand a piece of paper. Can you read that?
Possibly, I need.
I've just put it this way, I'm picking another one.
Why?
It's a box of delights.
Oh, fucking hell.
Which we already watched.
We have watched.
And didn't want to go raking through all the bits of paper to take it out again. Unfolding the bit of paper. Ah, fantastic.
It's all very technical.
Gormenghast.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm chuffed at that.
And I have the Blu-ray of it.
Oh, do you? I have the DVD. I don't think I've watched all of the TV, but I came to the books of Gormenghast via audiobooks.
Oh, right.
And it was quite a journey, because I honestly think I would have never read it on paper.
Yeah.
Because it took a good couple of hours in the audiobook before the plot really kicked in.
Yeah, it's a very intricate and
Yeah.
very long. I came to it through TV. I'm sort of glad of that, but I mean, obviously, Gormenghast TV series, Gormenghast the books, it's like you're missing out technically quite a lot.
But it's a trilogy, but I've never quite got through the third book, partly because of audiobooks and falling asleep a lot. Annoyingly, the audiobook set that I've got, they don't sell anymore, because I love that and I love the narrator. They now sell a set of the trilogy which is the same narrator as the Stieg Larsson girl with the blah 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 books.
Oh, yeah.
And I can't hear anything else but the Elizabeth Salander opened another pizza.
It's funny, isn't it? You know, when you get a narrator of an audiobook, you know, and you get used to one voice.
Yeah, and it's just wrong with anybody else.
I like the. I mean, the cast is an absolute pursuit, and it introduced the world to Jonathan Rhys-Meyer.
Okay.
Yeah.
You've got Neve McIntosh in it as Fuchsia.
Oh, God, yeah.
John Sessions, Christopher Lee.
Yes,
plays
Christopher
Flay.
Lee. It's also got
who's plays Swelter? It's Richard
Griffiths and Mad Cassandra.
Zoe Wanamaker.
Zoe Wanamaker.
Yes. No, the brilliant cast.
Oh God, the guy who played Francis Urquhart.
Don't know.
Oh my! Oh, I'm getting worse at this.
Yeah, well, we'll look it up for next time. It's. I mean, the TV version, it struggles to do it justice, I think, because the book is so sprawling. It creates this amazing world.
Absolutely.
It's just such a. When was it written? 50s or 60s, something like that.
Yeah.
Mervyn Peake is the author.
I think really with the TV, it's obviously suffers in terms of not being able to sort of, you know.
Oh God, they could do it justice now, couldn't they? It'd be
But,
amazing now.
I mean, the visual of it, I think
For the time is
well,
that's what I mean now with
bloody
CG being what it
impressive.
is. You could realise Gormenghast is a castle, an enormous, mad, sprawling castle. And I think Gormenghast was a big influence on some of Ian Banks's work in terms of kind of these amazing, huge and improbable buildings. I'll always love that sort of stuff. Sort of cities that would take you, or cities that are one building that's a city, and the language of it and the names and the poetry of that, Swelter and Flay and Rotcod and Prune Squalor,
Mr. Flay,
Mr. Fibule.
yeah. Reminds me of that.
No,
yeah.
if you've never
Prune Squalor, what a fantastic
I know.
name.
It's just Rotcod is doctor backwards, which I didn't realise. But I don't know if you've got a chance to go and read the books. Given their length before our next episode, you've got a fair chance, but just very, very chuffed about that. So, yeah, excellent. Gormangust.
Monsters! Going to eat us! What's a monster, sweetheart? Is it aliens?
It is time for Monster by Monster, where we randomly select monsters and aliens from a list from the BBC website and say things about them if we're very, very lucky. Chaz. Don't give me that. Right, so let's select with a random number generator a monster or alien. 155. It's Malmuth. Right. Of course I remember the Malmuth and haven't paused the episode to look them up. The Malmuth were beings with blue-green chitinous skin and long heads with pairs of mandibles at the side of their human-like mouths. You know who reminds me of them? Is the character in... no, our old friend. No. The character in Guardians of the Galaxy, where he has the kind of antenna.
Yeah.
Can't remember her name either. But this was like Chanto
Mantis.
in Utopia. Mantis. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it was a character rather than a monster.
Yeah, no, I liked her. Jack tried to shag her.
Of course.
Of course.
I believe she had a pulse.
Exactly, and she was tragically killed by the master.
Yeah. Well,
in an actually really chilling scene, to be honest.
And it was one of those interesting kind of setups with the verbal thing of starting and ending every sentence with the same syllables.
I did like the bit with Martha saying, what would you, if you say the word without, she go, no, it'd be like, really bad. It's like swearing.
So your Malmuth name is probably Fuck Me.
Yeah, or more.
Yeah, but we could do that whole string of Glaswegian Malmuth names.
Yeah,
it's like I but. I right. No, it's a nice sort of little detail.
Yeah, she was good. It's Utopia is a fucking cracker of an episode as well. That's because the big reveal in that one, I mean, that was epic.
Yeah, no, and nicely secret. Wasn't
that was one of the few things that didn't seem, well, I know it was spoiled, but it wasn't like common spoiling knowledge as well.
Have we ever seen them again?
No, I don't believe so. The Malmuth, because their race was extinct.
From the Time War, was it?
No, it was just the end of the universe.
Oh, of course it was, yes.
And basically she was the last survivor of her race.
Oh god, so quick genocide to celebrate the new master. Yeah, nice. Alright, let's do another one. 79. Kroll! Hooray.
Kroll?
Yeah, I thought we had
Kroll.
Yeah, well, I watched the Power Kroll not all that long ago. I think so. At the time, I quite like the effect.
The split screen's not bad.
It's alright, it's a bit obvious, but I liked all the tentacle stuff. They were felt quite threatening.
And the swampies.
Yeah. And I think I remember, must have got this from the Target book rather than the TV show, because I would have read that long before I saw the show. And I liked a lot the idea that the whole creature was the segment, right?
Yeah.
Because it had swallowed it or something.
Yeah, something like that.
And that had given it the kind of giant size. And so it's like the segment doing all this kind of harm, really.
I suppose. Yeah.
So 2, 3, 4.
Oh, Christ.
Skip to the end.
New series.
It's near the end. It's going to be recent. It is the Pating. I love the Pating.
I fucking hate the Pating.
Well, we literally watched Saranga a couple of episodes ago, and we said a lot about it, but I just thought it was genuinely novel, threatening. You quite rightly pointed out that it's Nibbler from Futurama.
Basically, that's what it is. He fucking looks like Nibbler.
I loved your Beep the Meep theory as well.
I would have liked that.
Yeah,
that would have been awesome.
Lovely Pating. All right, next. I want them coming back. 21. Down to the start.
The Pating great again.
21. Well, I don't know what we can say about these because they were so flash in the pan. It's the Cybermen. Well, obviously...
Move on.
Yeah, I know. So much to talk about with them, so that'll round us out nicely. But, well, I mean, Jerry Davis, Kit Pedler. Kit Pedler was like a scientific advisor, and obviously interested in human cybernetics. So it sort of gets lost here and there along the way. They become sort of more or less just evil robots, but their thing has always been to turn you into them.
Yeah.
And I actually thought it was a slight kind of cross-pollination when the Daleks started turning people into Daleks later on in their kind of history.
I suppose.
Cybermen did it first.
Yeah. I mean, the design of them, even from 10th Planet, which ironically they ended up bringing back for that for Capaldi's final.
Yeah.
I have always thought that is their creepiest look,
closest to the
because
human.
it's so uncanny valley.
Yeah.
And you actually see like skin hands,
Real
and
hands, yeah.
stuff, and they've always been a very creepy. Because it's not just the robot, it's
There's a
actually
person in
there's organics in there, and Star Trek jumped on that and
the Borg,
gave us the
of course,
Borg.
yeah.
So you've got that, and I think a lot of that Borg and stuff, I'm sure that's influenced by the Cybermen.
Yeah.
But they are basically Doctor Who's number 2
Yep.
monster, inside the Daleks. They're the 2 most popular
monsters, and certainly most frequently returning, probably.
Absolutely, yeah.
The Sontarans are kind of 3rd place bronze medal, I suppose, aren't they? But
it's interesting though, because the Daleks don't get much of a redesign in general.
But not so fundamental, yeah.
Get redesigned practically every time, especially in the old series. They get redesigned nearly every time you see them.
Yeah.
In the new series, you've had redesigns, but not necessarily say as much.
Yeah.
But it is interesting because everybody, I think, has got a favourite design. I mean, the tomb design is particularly cool.
Yeah.
The invasion.
Yeah.
Then, of course, Earthshock.
80s
Oh my
Earthshock
god,
onwards, yeah.
that's a design I
Well, when we met,
particularly
I was
love.
utterly entranced by the Cybermen, and
Yeah.
David Banks, who played the Cyber Leader, just brought out this book which expanded
I've
on their
got
whole
that
history. Yeah, I don't think I have my copy anymore. Now, we met David Banks around The Ultimate Adventure, the stage play, which he was in as the Cyber
Yeah.
Leader, and also the leader of a gang of mercenaries.
I might have a spare copy of that book.
Oh really?
so
I'd love to read
I'll
it
look
again, actually, because I sold off all my a lot of my Doctor Who stuff when my kids were born, or first kid was born, because we were skint basically.
I've done the same.
Yeah, but no, I was utterly obsessed with it and was thrilled beyond words as a 14-year-old to meet David Banks.
Oh yeah.
Also, of course, he memorably played the Doctor as an understudy in that stage play. The Cybermen, I think, interestingly, with the Shad, that sort of returns to that Mondasian thing of being, obviously unescapably aware of the human underneath. And the other big trait for them, of course, is the lack of emotion, which Ishad sort of, I think Connor said it was, that's the irony of Ishad.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what they needed.
It was, I think, because of that, it was such a shock.
Yeah.
And that's why he was so fascinating. I mean, if you watch that scene near the end of the episode where he's talking to Mary Shelley
about your
baby
children.
and, oh my god,
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, whoa!
It was like something out of See God Tell Him.
I think basically you watch. I mean, this is the irony, isn't it? You watch that episode, and it's as if you're watching a different era, because suddenly it's utterly brilliant,
nasty,
and nasty.
Aye, but I think again the Cybermen and the motions kind of came and went. It's a bit of a trap as well.
Yeah.
I mean, you got the whole Spock thing, where
They have
but not
emotions, but they're buried.
And so Cybermen, I think the new series has done some interesting stuff with that kind of tortured soul within the machine.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But
there's some
images from the classic series of the same thing, like Lytton in Attack of the Cybermen being half cybernized.
That's a heartbreaking ending, actually.
Yeah.
And like you say, there's the scene with David Tennant in Rise of the Cybermen. Remember when they destroy, well, not destroy it, but sort of dying, and they turn off the inhibitors not working, and it turns out she was getting married.
Yeah. That's good Russell writing, isn't it? That one?
And apparently there's supposed to be that scene of the Cyberman going like that in an extended version they've not everything, but he'd wrote that he'd originally envisaged that as a child.
Oh god.
And he thought, maybe a bit too much. But wonderful stuff, Well, really,
also, the Cybermen have robbed the Doctor of more companions than the Daleks ever have.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah,
it's good. Bill and Adric.
Bill? Oh yeah, of course. I was going to say because Katrina, but yeah, no, you're right.
Well, I mean that was not really the Daleks' fault. If you
No,
like.
well, I'm just,
Give them a break. Come on.
I suppose. The interesting thing, though, we were talking about emotion and stuff, in the 80s, it was quite amusing because you're not telling me there wasn't emotion in there, you know, with David Banks
excellent.
and, you know, the cyber lieutenant and stuff, you know, they were you know, there was some great little bits with the Cybermen. I think our local group at the time, well, not in the 80s, but they came up in Paisley Parton with two characters called Kev and Baz,
Cybermen.
the camp Cybermen. You know, and they were based on the two Cybermen that are having the conversation.
Who drew that?
Outside
It was
the
a cartoon,
door,
wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was Alistair, not McGowan. Jeez. I can't remember.
Can you do celebrity misnamings of our old pals?
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
But yeah, and it was based on the two in Airshot, you know, having the conversation outside the door.
The silent conversation. Well, they're like the two stormtroopers talking about the latest
Yeah,
TIE fighter.
exactly. God, no, I mean, I absolutely love the Cybermen. I genuinely think they're still my favourite of all the monsters.
Yeah, I liked them less in the early new series stuff with the parallel universe and the delete crap, which I thought was just mind-numbing.
Right.
Not to my taste, that's all.
Yeah. I think part of that was to have that thing with kids having a
Something to chant
in the playground, you know?
But again, it sort of smacks to me like your mechanoids. You're kind of like every time you consciously attempt to make a new slogan or a new monster, it's just it's always crap.
I totally agree on that.
The trick is not to try.
Yeah, exactly. The Daleks, they didn't try.
Yeah.
They didn't try with the Cybermen. But the image or the idea hooked people.
Well, they really cemented into Troughton's realm, of course, didn't they? Because there were, three?
Oh, yeah, they were
separate?
his monster.
And now he did two... How many Dalek stories?
Moonbase, Tomb of the Cybermen, The Invasion, and Wheel in Space.
So four Cybermen stories. Were there only Evil and Power of the Daleks for Troughton?
Yeah.
So
Pertwee didn't do
14.
any at all, apart from Five Doctors.
And a glimpse in Carnival of Monsters, on the miniscope.
And then it was Revenge of the Cybermen. And then basically from the 80s, that's when they reappeared. You know, because you got the Five Doctors and Earthshock.
Yeah.
Then you got Attack of the Cybermen. Technically, you could say it's Colin Baker's first story, because Twin Dilemma was the end of
the kind of leftover,
you know,
yeah. But the and then Silver Nemesis, not their finest hour.
I don't like. I hate the writer and I hate the whole concept of it. But they looked amazing.
It's probably the discontinuity guide that joked that they're sort of have to rub the gold into them has metamorphosed into their fleeing in terror from the mere mention of gold, including Spandau Ballet concerts.
But no, I mean they did the design, you know, making them like chrome and stuff. I mean, wow.
It's a lovely electric sort of little throwaway moment in. Is it? Must be the Dalek episode where they're in the museum at the start and there's that Cyberman head in the glass case.
Lovely.
Yeah, it's just lovely to see it.
Yeah.
And
I
to the past.
do remember watching Silver Nemesis at the time. As I say, don't like it, but I remember being absolutely thrilled when they landed. But it was a bit rubbishy spaceship because they come out and the neo-Nazis eradicate them. I was like, whoa, they look cool. And then I got disappointed.
Well, you know, see, there's precedent. It's the story of a life. So, yeah, Cybermen are obviously one of the all-time great classic monsters, and that's a great place to wrap up, I think.
Yeah, and before we go, as I did promise earlier, I would sort of plug the 2.4 Children podcast.
Go for it.
It's actually called Don't Slam Your Podcast. It's a 2.4 Children podcast, and it's JD Collins who hosts it, and he has guests on every week, usually fans, but I know there have been contributions from Andrew Marshall, and there are also some interviews with some of the cast. It basically takes the format of every week. It discusses an episode, so it goes in order from the very first episode, Leader of the Pack.
There's like millions of them, aren't there?
Yeah, well, there's 7 series, and in the last episode of the 7th series is called The Millennium Experience, and ironically
came out then.
But yeah, there's 52 episodes, and if you're looking to watch 2.4 Children, if you have BBC iPlayer, they are now all on BBC iPlayer, which is brilliant.
52 episodes, just like Blake's
on. And they're on BritBox as well, but iPlayer has them all. BritBox has a few episodes missing for some reason, but it's only ever been released on DVD, the first 3 series, round about the 90s, and for some reason, I think copyright, music, etc., nothing else ever got released. So take my advice, listen to the podcast and watch the series, because I love it.
There we go.
It's the end. But the moment has been prepared for.
9 times out of 10.
So thank you for listening. If you'd like to get in touch, or if you're due to air in 2023 to coincide with the show's 60th anniversary, we can be reached by email at randomizerpodcast@gmail.com. Leave us a voice message at anchor.fm/randomizer, or follow us on Twitter at randomizerpod. And in all cases,
that is randomizer with an S, not a Z. Yeah, my theatre training's going.
What theatre training? Your toilet training. Alright, hello and welcome to episode 976 of the Randomizer podcast. I am Tim and this is the corpse of Chaz. We've not been talking about much recently because Chaz died 50 years ago. I've been suspended as a head in a jar for 48 years. But we have new Doctor Who. And yes. The Zarbalov from Planet Zuf is playing the Doctor, which is a casting decision that's upset many people who think that an alien shouldn't be cast in the role. However, the choice of companion as a small rock called Neville has delighted everybody, which is a nice change. What do you think, Chaz? Pepsi. That's what I thought. Okay, later on we'll be finding out why Chaz has been buried under 200 copies of the Mutants DVD.